Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Smoke Show, our Sunday night culinary show that we do. We've got Bruce Wayne and Jason with us tonight, and we're going to look at some beef stews. Bruce Wayne did an Irish beef stew, both smoked, and Jason did just a smoked beef stew. We're going to go over both those. But how you guys doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty well. Uh, Happy for the hour to sleep in today. Uh, no, I'll pay for that in the spring, but yeah, doing well.
I'm lovely.
Yeah, you are.
You guys holding up after getting the news on Peanut the squirrel?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm still crying, but I'll hold it back for this show.
Yeah, that's a tough one, old Peanut there. But let's go back to stews now. Bruce, you did a an Irish stew. What's the difference in an Irish stew and any other general other beef stew?
Well, the main thing that makes an Irish stew is has beer in it, specifically dark beer. A lot of people use Guinness for it. I went with just it's like a German chocolate dark ale. I think a lot of the beer flavor kind of gets cooked off, so I couldn't really taste the chocolate in it. But yeah, it's mostly the dark beer in it that makes it Irish.
Okay, let's take a look at it. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause it because there are a lot of ingredients in this. Get back to that. So we got Himalayan pink sea salt, black pepper, meat church, twisted steel, uh, holy gospel rub, which is meat church, 2.5 pounds of chuck roast, criminy mushrooms, that's fancy, onion, gold, potatoes, parsley, green onion, carrots, general purpose flour, olive oil, dark beer, tomato paste, beef broth, 4 cups of that, garlic, thyme leaves, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that covers it.
Okay, that's quite a bit of ingredients. Let's see how it's done. Now, Twisted Steel is a brand of seasoning itself, right?
It is a rub for meats. Yeah, it's kind of a little spicy.
Okay, so we're going to cube our meat. That's first thing here, right? Cube
Yeah,
it,
it's
then you're going to
chuck
season it
roast,
with your meat
uh,
church and
horse
Twisted Steel.
pepper, and the
Now, what are we
rub.
doing with carrots? We're going to chop those up, right? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, just big chunks. You don't want it slices. You want chunks, and then threw that all in the smoker.
So you smoke the carrots and the meat. How long did you smoke them for?
I smoked the meat for about 45 minutes, and then I threw on the carrots and let it smoke for another 15 minutes.
What kind of heat were you moving with that?
Oh, it was only 175.
So real low for a short period of time. And while
Yep,
that's going, we're going to chop. Looks like we're chopping our garlic here, right?
garlic. Yep, yeah.
Mushrooms, potatoes, onions. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Now you've got the meats come off the smoker now, right? And you are putting those into flour.
Yep, yeah. I think I actually added olive oil just as a binder, and then put that all-purpose flour on it before you start frying it up in the griddle.
Okay, so and that's the next step. You're gonna fry it. How much you gonna cook it? Are we getting overcooked on the meat?
Don't want to cook it much at all. You just want to basically brown the outside. You kind of want it just so that oil kind of crisps up the flour.
Just
You don't.
braise it a bit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's it coming out of the fry.
Yeah, so you can see it's still real pink.
Okay.
Basically, not much, like the fat didn't render at all. Basically, the not much cooking process had gone on yet.
Okay. So you're doing that just to get some good texture on the outside and bind some of the flavors to the beef.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Now we're gonna make the stew. I guess we're gonna all the ingredients going into stew pot, right? Like that.
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't really show adding them, but yep, you just tomato paste, beef broth. I kind of stirred that all together with the beer, and then I added the chunkier ingredients.
And that is an icicle dark beer. It's actually German chocolate cake ale. German
Yeah.
chocolate cake is what you put in there.
I'm not much of a dark beer drinker. It just looked good. So, picked it up.
Okay, so the beef broth and the beer, that's what makes the broth in the stew.
Yes. Did I think we missed a picture? There's so you let it simmer or you bring it up to the point where it's simmering, and then when you get it there, you put the lid on it, you pull it off the stove, you put it in the oven, and you let it sit in the oven. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was 350 that you would keep in the oven for about 2 hours, and that's where all the cooking takes place.
Okay, yeah, that's a big step that's not in here.
Yeah, and I apologize. I think I sent it all in different email. I'm lost.
I think I had it in 2 emails, maybe 3 emails, but my apologies if I missed it. But that's Irish beef stew.
It
Folks,
was
I got that what we missed out of that was the once all the ingredients are smoked and put together with the part where it says make the stew, that's where it's going into an oven at 350 for how long?
for 2 hours.
Okay, could you use a crock pot instead of the oven?
Nope, no, I just took the same pot that it was simmering on, stuck it in there with the lid on.
No, I'm asking, could one if they
Oh,
wanted to do it that way?
I would imagine so. Yeah. Um, I was real impressed though. That chuck roast, it's not a real expensive cut of meat, and it had quite a bit of fat on it, and it just rendered that fat rendered down. I think probably went into the liquid part of the stew, but that was just so tender. It just like barely any chewing. It would fall apart. Like push your tongue against the roof of your mouth, and that meat would just fall apart. It was fantastic.
Look pretty good. It is the season for soups and stews, chili even, as the weather starts to turn. So that looked like it was pretty good. What do you think about it, Jason?
I thought it looked great. Not a dark beer guy at all, but I have cooked with it before, and no, I thought it looked really good. Nice work.
Well, and thank you. And I think I might, if I do it again, I probably will do it again. I think I'm gonna try to add more beer because I was a little disappointed. I'm sure it added some flavor, but I just didn't get hardly any beer flavor at all in the stew. Um, so I
I'll
might
give you a hint
add
with that.
more.
If you want the beer flavor to carry over, add it late, split it, or add maybe add 2 cans to it, and put another half can in. About if you're doing 2 hours, maybe another 45 minutes to an hour before it's done. It'll maintain some of the flavor. All alcohol cooks out very quickly. It has a very low evaporation temperature, so the alcohol itself gets out of there, and then the rest is left. There's just water and some taste, but you'll lose a lot of that if you're cooking with it over some duration.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, now, Jason, you did a smoked beef stew and you used wine. Does that make yours French if his is Irish? You have the French beef stew, bouf stew.
No,
So, how did you select the wine that you used for yours, Jason?
I wanted a dry, just a dry red wine, um, and something not too expensive. I think it was a $9 bottle of wine, but it was just a very, very dry wine.
Now, what difference does that make on a dry wine when you're cooking with it?
Taste. I when this stew was done, you could taste the wine. It was broken down, but it had a very rich taste to it.
Okay. Looks like our viewers are impressed with it. KC says, bet that was really good. And B says, Chuck Roast makes the best stew meat. Good job, B. Wayne. And
Thank you
then
guys.
Casey comes back and throws a straight jab. Says, try it with an actual Guinness next time.
I don't.
Wuss.
I've never liked Guinness.
Have you ever had it in your stew?
I haven't. I think it might. I don't know. It was a lot more mild than this German dark. Like it might. I think it's more has to do with when I add it than because I don't know. Guinness is kind of a weak flavored dark beer, at least in my opinion. So yeah, it could work better. I don't know. I do think adding it later would help though.
Evidently, KC thinks it's a something you absolutely should try. But let's go to this smoked beef stew from Jason. Let's check it out. Sure it was, Casey. Sure it was. Okay, we got quite a few ingredients for this one too. Let's pause for a second. So we're doing 2 pounds of beef sirloin, meat church holy cow, of course, 1 large onion, a bag of baby carrots, a bag of baby red potatoes, 5 cloves of garlic, 4 bay leaves, meat church garlic, and herb. Nope, I messed up there. A 14.5 ounce can of chopped tomatoes, 2.5 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 cups of Pinot Noir wine. Is that dry, I guess? And 3.5 cups of beef stock. So
One thing that when I do like chili, I know a lot of people put some sort of roast in it. I always use like a beef sirloin or I just think it just tastes better. It's just a better cut of meat. Not that I'm against a roast, but I prefer to just grab some select sirloin and chop them up into cubes.
okay, I'll buy that. I think both work. And there's our ingredients: baby carrots, baby potatoes. There's that wine. So your first step is also cubing it into bite-sized pieces and season it with holy cow. There we are. Okay. Now, there's a little different on the instructions here. So you're going to place the meat on the smoker at 200 degrees, and then 30 minutes later, you add the onions. Is that right? Cut in half.
Yep. The vegetables absorb the smoke pretty quickly.
Right, now we're going to slice our onions, carrots, meat, or add the meat and all that into everything chopped, and now add it into a stew pot, right?
Exactly.
2.5 cups of wine, enough to cover the ingredients in the pan, and then put the pan on the smoke. Wine. See that?
I actually poured the whole bottle in.
Okay.
I wanted to cover it all. It wasn't quite enough to cover it all.
Okay, now here's where I get a little confused on yours. We're going to cook it on the smoker until the mixture begins to simmer. So it starts to boil a little bit, and then you're going to go another 30 minutes with that uncovered, correct?
Yes.
What temperature did you have it on the smoker there to bring it to a simmer?
225. I think it was 225 or 250.
Okay.
Then you're going to, once after the 30 minutes has elapsed of simmering, you're going to add the tomatoes, tomato paste, and the beef stock, and you're going to put a lid on it and let it come back to a slow simmer, correct?
Exactly.
So for about an hour until the meat's tender. Then now you're going to add tomatoes or potatoes and cook until the potatoes are soft, and that's when it's done, right? Kind of like chicken noodles.
Pretty much.
done when the potatoes are.
Yep. When the
Right.
potatoes are soft, you're done. I actually took the lid off to add some more smoke to the potatoes, and then I was stirring it for probably the last 30 to 45 minutes. I wanted to get a little more smoke in there and keep constantly moving that that outer level so it can catch that smoke.
Okay, man, I think that looks pretty good. Both those look very good, actually. Let's talk about. Well, Bruce, what do you think about that?
Oh, that looks good. I like the bay leaf touch. Yeah, that seems like it would be a good addition to that dish.
What exactly does a bay leaf do? I see it floating in a lot of dishes, but does it really give it any taste?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
real distinctive. I don't know how you describe the flavor, but
I can say that it was probably the richest tasting stew that I've made. It was very flavorful. Um, wasn't bland in any way, shape, or form. It was a very rich stew.
Let me, with all the work we've done on smokers for both of you, were you able to get the smoke flavor into the stew?
yeah,
Absolutely, yes, 100%.
I didn't smoke it half as I just smoked the ingredients and then did everything else stovetop in an oven, and I still had some pretty good. It wasn't overpowering, but you could definitely taste the smoke in it. And then the next day, that smoke seeped out of the meat and into the rest of the stew. It's real good. So I'll bet, Jason, how was yours a real nice strong smoke?
When I had it right after I cooked it, it wasn't as strong. I agree with you. It was the next day after it sat for a while. It got a little smokier, but I like that taste. But it was richer after it sat in the fridge for a day than it
Yeah.
was when I first ate it.
Yeah, it was. I agree. It was better the next day. It was almost like salsa when you make it the first day. It's all right, and then the second day, all those flavors combine, and yeah, fantastic.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question for both of you. If I wanted to do a smoked stew, it's cold, weather's changing. I don't want to go to the smoker or I don't want to watch a smoker for, in Jason, in your case, a couple hours maybe. Could I smoke the ingredients like Bruce Wayne did and then put all these into like a crock pot and then finish it out that way? Think you'd have success this way?
I I don't see why not. As long as if you smoke all the ingredients, that's what you do with salsa. I mean, I when I make salsa, I smoke all the vegetables and then I throw them in a blender and um, just let it rest. And like if you smoked, I'm not a big carrot guy, but if you smoke the carrots, you smoke the onions. If you wanted to make your own tomato paste or your own tomatoes, and you smoke the tomatoes, and then you crock pot, yeah, you would have smoked taste in a crock pot.
Okay, Bruce, what do you think?
I definitely think you would. Like I was saying, mine, it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't like a brisket, or not. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't super pronounced. It wasn't something like a brisket or like if you smoked a piece of meat, but it was a real subtle kind of a smoky undertone through the whole dish. So you'll definitely get that smoke even if you do in the crock pot. Um, I think if you want a real strong smoke flavor, but it worked out well because it was like an additional flavor. It wasn't the primary flavor, and I think that worked out pretty well in that dish.
Nice. I tried this week Jason's stuffed flank steak recipe. I changed it a bit. I used skirt steak, and for those you may not be familiar, skirt steak's not really thick enough to cut in half and butterfly so that you can stuff it. But it is it's kind of a long strip. So I took the tenderizer hammer, beat it down thin. I didn't have to cut anything. I just took the actual piece of meat, beat it down thin, layered it with. I sliced fresh garlic real thin, put it into a pan, and roasted the garlic with olive oil. The olive oil will infuse with some garlic taste. I take everything in the contents of that pan. I lay it onto the meat, I take some fresh basil, chop it, lay it onto the meat, and then put mozzarella and Parmesan cheese slices on it and roll it up. I smoked it for about 3 hours and got a good internal temperature, and that's when I decided to take it off. And it looked good. It sliced well. The temperature was good, but it just didn't have enough flavor in it. It had the smoke flavor. The smoke flavor was overpowering, and all the things I did with the Italian side of it was for naught because it didn't really come through. Um, but what I actually wound up doing with it, and we'll have it on next week's show. I've got it all videoed and pictures of it. I'm gonna do it next week's show. But I cut that up and put it into a vodka sauce and made pasta with it, and it was pretty damn good actually. And the only thing it really carried with it was the smoke flavor from everything else. But that smoke flavor added into the vodka sauce was a pretty damn good dish. So I was kind of impressed with that.
That sounds good.
But anybody that wants to reproduce that recipe for Jason, keep in mind the smoke is going to be a pretty strong flavor, so you don't want to go subtle with what you stuff it with. You can stuff it with anything that you like, but the stuffing that I add just didn't add anything to it. I might as well just smoke the meat and put it in spaghetti sauce and save myself some time.
Yeah, that's why I think Jason did a good move with the feta, or I think like blue cheese, some gorgonzola or something. Maybe would be strong enough to cut through the smoke. Yeah.
The blue cheese would be good. Another one that I thought of is maybe doing a play on a beef Wellington and using a coarse mustard on the interior. In other words, put what you would put on the outside of a beef Wellington, the mushrooms and the mustard, put that on the inside and roll it up. I think that could turn out to be pretty decent, actually.
So yesterday, I tried a new take on the flank steak stuffed, and I tried to stuff a chicken breast. So I got 3 really big chicken breasts, and I filleted them in half and opened them up. And that's not real easy to not get holes in chicken when you're doing it that way. But I went with the feta, mushrooms, spinach, garlic, and then rolled it up as best I could. It looked more like a taco, but then wrapped butcher string around it, and it actually turned out okay. I think the beef tasted better. With chicken, I probably wished I would have used some different stuffings, maybe like a bacon, Parmesan cheese, bacon, something more mushrooms, maybe a cream cheese type thing. But it wasn't bad, but it didn't hold a candle to the beef.
I like what you're thinking on that, though. What you can add to things we normally cook and eat, what you can add to it to make it kind of a special meal. I like that. Bruce, do you ever do anything with chicken?
I do. I mean, I don't normally or hardly ever cook a whole chicken. It's just too much food for me. But yeah, no, if I do a stir fry, like I'll smoke a chicken breast. If I'm doing, like, I'll do barbecue chicken. If I'm doing corn, I'll do like chicken for pasta. But yeah, it's good. If I'm gonna do it, I do smoke it. Well, I guess I've smoked it some. Mostly it's just grilling with the wood fire. But yeah, that's good.
A chicken takes smoke real well now. B is throwing up something that's interesting. Try bacon jam next time.
That
That
sounds
might be a good place to be when it comes to both chicken and the beef.
I've never heard of bacon jam. I don't even know what it is. I'm picturing a jar with a bunch of gooey bacon.
I don't know what it could be fig. They mix it with some sort of a fruit, but it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff.
I gotta look it up.
I'm sure you can get it at your local grocery store.
Actually, the fruit and chicken might be okay. that'd be an interesting, or an avocado. That'd be avocado slices. That would be kind of a different twist.
Smoking the avocado, or
Oh, you just stuff it. It'd be the stuffing. You'd smoke the whole chicken, but there'd be avocado in there.
yeah,
You know what? I'm not angry with anything that we just discussed. I think all those are good options, and I think the bacon jam is also a contender on the beef. I don't think it's going to be too sweet.
no, and
I just got a no from B. I don't know what the no's for. Give me more than a no, B.
I think that might be to do with the figs, possibly.
It might be my description of bacon jam. You know, those you are not following B. She makes her own jams and jellies. She's kind of an authority on it, so I'm not going to necessarily argue with her.
Man, she needs to send us.
Then don't forget the 57-pound turkey that she was able to produce pictures of.
Yeah.
Oh, she says no avocado. Okay, that makes me feel
well, I was wondering if the avocado would render down in the heat, like kind of melt because it's got so much oil in it, or if it would just kind of dry out. I don't know. I like when I eat avocado, it's on top of things like salads, guacamole, tacos. I don't think I've ever cooked avocado.
So I'm looking at the ingredients on bacon jam. It's uncured bacon, no nitrates added. Cherry powder, smoke flavors, onions, brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, raw cane sugar, maple syrup.
You should try some.
It does sound kind of good, actually.
There's some places that could be used as a stuffing, if you would, for some of these dishes we're talking about.
Yeah, it does sound like I need to check that out.
I'm doing my own research right here. I'm seeing bacon jam grilled cheese with caramelized onions. Looks pretty delicious, actually.
But he's not pushing you at all on this, Jason. She's just giving you a helpful hint if you wanted to take it. Like, put it in your cart, buy it, Jason. You'll love it.
Yeah, I'll try it.
It's just the step put in the cart, Jason. Buy it.
I think that was not a suggestion. You know what? For next week, do we want to try something smoked with bacon jam?
Ed Farmer. Bacon
I'll try it.
Bagel and toast. Wait, what was that with the bacon jam?
Anything.
Do something with bacon jam. You can stuff it. You can use it as a glaze. You can whatever you want to use bacon jam for, as long as it's got some smoke.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what would take the smoke with that. Maybe paint it on kind of like you would with a barbecue chicken.
No, I'm thinking a stuffed pork tenderloin.
I'm thinking stuffed. That could be pretty good, actually. I think I'm going to go with something stuffed. I may try the flank steak again and go with some bacon jam on the inside with a couple of the items.
All right, I'll go pork.
Pork's a good idea too. You can choose any type of meat that you want, as long as it's got bacon jam in the recipe. That's a good entry for next week. And I am back at my home. I will be participating. I'll have 2 dishes, one a fail and hopefully one a win for next Sunday.
Nice. I'm wondering how that. I'll be interested to hear how that pork and bacon jam go, because the bacon jam kind of that sweet and salty, but then pork's already a bit salty, so I wonder if it'll be too salty or just right.
I've never done it before. It'll be an experiment, but it'll be fun.
Jason, if you're going with pork, look up a cream peppercorn sauce.
Okay. For the stuffing?
No, for a finish.
Okay. Cream peppercorn.
I just thought maybe use the bacon jam. Wow, see it seems like such a dessert type thing, but I was thinking it might go good with like a wine reduction sauce, possibly on a steak.
It depends on the consistency of it. Is it runny or is it like peanut butter?
No, it's like jelly.
Okay.
But now think about it. You could mix that with, say you use it as a stuffing. You could mix it with sour cream. You could mix it with other things that would tamper down some of the sweetness and give it a different consistency.
I'll just slap it on some anchovies and smoke it all.
Guys, I'll tell you a secret about sour cream. When you use sour cream for smoking and on meat, you never get the sour cream taste at the end, but it does wonders for helping you get temperature for people who like their meat well done. It does wonders as a binder to hold things onto a meat as far as a marinade goes. I may be tipping my hand, but there'll be some sour cream and bacon jam in my recipe for next week. But on the pork, for sure, try the peppercorn cream sauce. And if you want to DM me, I can give you some recipes and how I do it. I think it's important when you make that is you want to sweat the peppercorns prior to putting them into anything. Just on high heat in a cast iron skillet until they literally start to sweat. That's the oil coming out of them. But
Didn't somebody make that in one of the shows?
Ron did.
Yeah.
Ron did a pretty decent peppercorn for his, and I forget what he did it on, but it was good. But I think for pork, it's one of my favorite sauces on any pork dish.
Speaking of peppercorns, have you guys ever had undried peppercorns, like where they're still fresh and juicy, kind of like a little berry?
You know what? I haven't.
I tried one of those. Someone had those this summer, and it was real interesting. They were almost less spicy and a little sweet, but you still get that pepper flavor. And I don't know where you find them, but it was interesting.
I'm going to look into that. I've never had one like that.
Yeah. But so when you sweat them, is that you kind of steam them, or?
You're applying heat, and the oil inside the peppercorn will start to flow out of it. You won't see like a ton of sweat off them. They'll just look like they're sweating. That's why they call it sweating the corns.
Just heat as in like you stick them on a tray in an oven, or?
No, you put them in a cast iron skillet on your stovetop and you turn it up and you keep shaking them and moving them around until they're sweaty. And then you take them out and use them in your recipe at that point.
Huh.
I use the same pan. I add the cream and everything into that pan, but you do have to take it off and let it cool a bit. Otherwise, you'll scorch your other ingredients when you put them in. It takes some heat to do that. But folks, that's going to be our show for this Sunday night. Your host, Joe New. I'm back at my home. I'm going back to a normal schedule. We've got election week this week. Well, tomorrow night, we're going to have a pregame show for the election. We're going to kind of run back and see some of the highlights between the Harris-Biden, because he was in this election for a good deal of it, and Trump and their supporters, how they've kind of reacted on X. I've been doing quite a bit of research and just pulling general things that have been posted since the beginning of this election season. We're going to go over that and give our predictions tomorrow for who we think is most likely going to pull this out. And then we will have live election coverage until the results come in and we have a new president elect on Tuesday night. Wednesday, the Night Court Show will be back with a gentleman from South Africa, Lex. We're going to drill down and find out what it's like to be a South African living in the area of South Africa that he lives in too. So we've got some good shows coming up, and we're going to be back on schedule. I know it's been pretty sparse for you guys that have been mainstays. I appreciate you, but we're going to try to get our audience up and get our voice out a little bit more. But thanks, Jason. Thanks, Bruce Wayne, for some great selections or submissions, I should say.
Joe, is that Africa guy?
Yes, it's the African guy. African dude, I think, right?
No, it was guy.
Okay, African guy. Yeah, Lex. Those of you who know what we're talking about know he's a great guy. He's very articulate and tells stories well. But we're going to dive into childhood on up, what it's like to grow up in South Africa. and kind of dig into some of their history from a South African's point of view, not our media's point of view. But with that, we will have a little show tonight. We're going to have one, give me about 45 minutes to get it kicked up, but we're going to pay homage to Peanut the squirrel. He was taken from his owner. He was a TikTok mega star, an influencer. And they took him from his home and within hours sent him to the pearly gates because he was a squirrel and it's unlawful. The administrative state in New York says that you can't have a squirrel and he cannot be a TikTok YouTube guy or TikTok influencer. The squirrel cannot. And if he's got any friends, they'll kill him too because they killed the raccoon that was his buddy there at the house. But we're going to have a show. We're going to talk about that a little bit. It's kind of, Bruce, you brought this up last night. It's kind of started to be kind of a bellwether moment where a lot of people are kind of waking up and going, hey, does the government really have the right to come take your squirrel and kill it? A lot of stuff on X about that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. And we'll probably talk about it tomorrow night as well. But thanks, folks. Thanks for watching. And thanks for the submissions, guys. Great recipes.
Hello.
No.
And did you ever get any money from Maya Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, or none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Shennies?
No. I don't even speak to them. I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like
No.
Night Court with Joe Lanou live on X.
Also known as Duck Corella.
I refuse to answer on the grounds of made intent to
You
criminal.
got any business?
I refuse to answer on the grounds of intent to criminal.
You have any profession?
I refuse to answer on the grounds of made
You
intent
have
to
any
criminal.
occupation?
I refuse to answer on the grounds of made intent
Are
to
you a
criminal.
known racketeer?
I refuse to answer on the grounds of made